Americans for Fair Taxation presents the weekly Chairman's Report, written by Steve Hayes, president of Americans for Fair Taxation, and recorded by Bob Paxton, a volunteer with the Florida Fair Tax Educational Association. And now, this week's Chairman's Report.
Hello, I'm Bob Paxton with the AFFT Chairman's Report for Friday, September 19th, 2025. No, economics is not too complicated for us. The DC elites are probably required to read Plato's Republic to justify their belief that the rest of us lack the capability for understanding basic economics. In the Republic, Plato asserts that political decisions require judgment and skill and should be left to the experts. Well, a major flaw in such an arrangement is the assumption that the ruling experts will put the people's best interest ahead of their own in making their decisions. Now, when you look at the present state of the country, what do you see? $37 trillion in national debt, a national U.S. budget that has only been balanced 4 times in the past 60 years. You'll see crumbling infrastructure, excessive regulations that cripple businesses, bureaucracy that operates only for itself, and failing schools. Now, when confronted with questions about the above points, the DC elites say there's nothing wrong with the job they're doing. They dismiss our questions on the grounds that we're just not smart enough to understand the big picture. According to them, if we had their level of insight and understanding, we'd know that we're in good hands and not raise those stupid questions. Now, the DC elites say that we ordinary people can't understand the continuing battle between President Trump and Jerome Powell over interest rates. Economist Dr. Robert Genetsky published an economic and financial outlook that's available to subscribers. He is also a member of the Fair Tax Advisory Board. In Dr. Genetsky's August 25, 2025 newsletter, he points out that there are 2 components to making money more available to the U.S. economy. Yes, one is interest rates, but the other is the money supply. Now, here's how he explained it. The money supply is determined by the Fed's purchases and sales of securities as well as changes in bank deposits at the Fed. The sum of these two show that there's been no change in the money supply since March of 2025. Now, to increase the money supply, the Feds need to sell securities, which increases the supply of money in the economy, and then reduce the interest rates. If less money is available, then the banks will have less to loan. And at that point, the law of supply and demand kicks in, and competition for the loans will drive the prices of those loans up. In conclusion, as Dr. Genetsky explains, just lowering interest rates without increasing the money supply is not the answer to making loans cost less and be more available. Now, how tough is that to understand? The DC elites and almost all politicians and their minions profit from the complexity of the income payroll tax system. They will oppose this simplification unless we, the people, demand it. Now, many of you have labored tirelessly for freedom from the federal income tax and the IRS. You deserve a great deal of credit for your efforts to educate the American people on the need to fund the American government in a way that's good for America and that returns freedom to the American people. It's imperative, though, that we don't replace the current income tax and the IRS with an alternative system that can still be manipulated by the ruling elite. We must let Congress and the President know that the best way to replace the income tax and the IRS is with the fair tax. Now, make no mistake about it. The fair tax is a grave threat to the ruling elites. It will strip them of their power and their ability to control us through the tax system. Their opposition to the fair tax will be fierce and unrelenting, and don't think for an instant they won't use half-truths, deception, and downright lies in their desperate attempt to hang on to their power. However, with the support of this president, we can finally eliminate the income tax and the IRS. Now, of course, the best course of action is not only to repeal the income tax and abolish the IRS, but to repeal the 16th Amendment as well so that no future administration can ever shackle the American people with an income tax again. We must come together and ensure that real tax reform, the fair tax, is not subverted by the elites in D.C. This will take the diligent efforts from all of us. We need your financial assistance, and we need your grassroots assistance. Now, if you have contacts that will allow us to get more information about the fair tax to President Trump, please let us know. Also, please email us at info@fairtax.org and we'll give you some options on how you can best help us. At a minimum, please call your congressional representative and ask if he or she supports the fair tax. If so, thank him or her for their support and suggest they become a co-sponsor of H.R. 25 if they're not one already. If not, ask why not. Now, if your representative claims to be unfamiliar with the fair tax, offer to have someone come to their office and explain it to them. The solution: pass the fair tax. Now, why would D.C. pass the fair tax and give up an almost unlimited source of donations? Well, they won't, at least not voluntarily. The only way they will is if the rest of us demand it. Isn't it time to end this ludicrous tax collection system in the IRS along with it? Help bring about real tax reform and stop future IRS abuses. By contributing, or actually investing, $10.40 a month, you help provide a financial base to Americans for fair taxation. Now, if you can make larger contributions/investments, these will be used not for salaries, as we're all volunteers, but for the needed updates to our economic studies, which will be vital for all future years. Please go to fairtax.org to invest in AFFT and help us pass the fair tax. It's an investment in your and your family's future.
This has been the Weekly Chairman's Report, written by Steve Hayes, President of Americans for Fair Taxation. Check back every week for news and information about the fair tax, and learn why the fair tax should replace our antiquated federal income tax system. If you'd like to receive a copy of the Chairman's Report in your inbox every week, sign up at fairtax.org.